Today's stretching area of focus is the hips, and we'll begin with a gravity pose called Blaster. Start in a push-up position, and then step your right foot far forward outside of your right hand. Drop your back knee down onto the floor. Using your right hand, I want you to scoot your right foot forward more and more and more until the foot is ever so slightly in front of the right hand. The positioning and alignment here, it doesn't need to be exact. It's not so important. So what I want you to do now is to turn that right foot out to the right at about a 45-degree angle. So your right toes will be pointing off to the right side. This will make the posture more comfortable, and it will also enable you to soften your body with less muscular tension. Good. Next, I want you to choose the best hand positioning for you. Remember, everyone's body is different, and you will progress quickly. So with that in mind, be honest with yourself today and be careful. There are 3 options for your hands and your arms. Option 1 is simple. Put your hands flat on the floor inside your right foot. Straighten your arms, drop your head, and relax. For many people, option 1 is the perfect place to be today. Option 2. Option 2 goes just a little bit deeper. If you feel like you can use a deeper stretch, then I want you to bend your elbows and drop them down onto the floor so that you're now resting on your forearms. Keep your body soft, and always just let your head and neck hang down loose and free. Option 3. Option 3 goes even deeper still and is only appropriate for students who have a great deal of flexibility in their hips. If that's you, the last and final step is to walk your fingertips forward, straightening your arms in front of you, and just gently rest your forehead down on the floor. Whichever position you choose today, make sure to relax completely. The hips are some of the largest joints in the body, so not surprisingly, they have a huge group of muscles and connective tissues that support them. If you're wondering how many different muscles control the hip, there are different opinions on this. But it's fair to say that there are at least 17 individual muscles involved in hip mobility, including the gluteus, abductors, iliopsoas, and piriformis. On a practical level, that means to open your hips takes deeper stretching and more commitment than other isolated stretching areas of the body. Tight hips are a common cause of discomfort during travel or long days at work. People with very tight hips can't sit comfortably on the floor for more than a minute or 2, and their back often rounds like a ball because the knees cannot release in a seated position. With open hips, you'll find greater strength and agility in athletics, and you'll find that with any seated practice, whether yoga, pranayama, meditation, these will become many times easier and more enjoyable. Because of the way your body is positioned here, there's a natural tendency to want to wiggle around, and an even more common is to try to relieve the stretch by pressing your hands and arms down. Do your best to avoid that. Instead, imagine your body sinking and melting deeper and deeper into the stretch with every breath. Continue breathing on your own. We're nearly there. Blaster pose, left side. Now let's do the other side. From a push-up position, this time step your left leg forward outside of your left hand. Drop your back knee, your right knee, down to the floor. And using your left hand, scoot your left foot forward so the foot is ever so slightly in front of the left hand. This pose is all about sinking deeply into your hip, and the alignment here is really not so important. With that in mind, turn your left foot out to the left at about a 45-degree angle. The toes will point off to the left side. With your foot angled like this, you'll find it's much easier to balance and relax more deeply into the pose. With the hips, there are so many muscles being stretched here, it's essential that you hold for a minimum of 3 minutes. As always, you'll hear tones at each minute interval. Eventually, you'll work up to a full 5-minute hold. But if that's not happening today, just make sure you complete a full 3 or 4 minutes as a minimum. If you haven't already, please choose a hand position that is best for you. Here are your 3 options. Option 1 is simple. Put your hands flat on the floor inside your left foot. Straighten your arms and drop your head. Relax. Remember, it's better to hold longer in option 1 than it would be to push yourself too far in option 2 or 3 and then have to come up sooner. So gauge yourself and make a good decision. Option 2. You'll remember option 2 goes a little bit deeper. If you do feel like you can use a deeper stretch, then bend your elbows and drop them down onto the floor so that you're resting on your forearms. Palms, forearms, and elbows are flat on the floor. Fingers are spread wide. Option 3. Option 3 goes even deeper still, and only do this variation if your hips are generally open to begin with. Here, you walk your hands all the way forward and rest your forehead on the floor. Whichever position you choose today, just make sure to relax completely. Blaster is a simple pose, but as soon as you pass the 2-minute mark, you'll surely start to feel the power of the stretch. With this pose, it's possible to hold it for a very long time the more you practice. For now, though, simply do your best to avoid the urge to wiggle or to fidget or adjust. If the stretching sensation becomes very strong, either in your left hip or buttocks region, or in the top of your back leg, then simply try to ignore those feelings by focusing instead on your breath as it comes in and as it goes out. Continue on breathing on your own. Head and neck are loose and relaxed, allowing your hips to soften and your body to melt toward the floor. If you feel this stretch in and around your hip and bum on the left side, that's perfectly normal. And if you feel the stretch on your back leg as well, that's a good sign too. Your lower back is what you want to watch out for. You will feel a stretch there, but you don't want any sharp shooting pain, so do be cautious. Continue breathing on your own. We're nearly there. Butterfly pose. The final pose we'll practice in the hip series is called butterfly pose. Begin in a seated position. Bend your knees and bring the soles of your feet together to touch in front of you. With the soles of your feet touching, the next step is to scoot your bum closer to your feet. Use your hands behind you if you need to scoot as far forward as you can comfortably go. Good. The next steps are very simple. I want you to walk your fingertips as far forward as you can. Turn your hands up toward the ceiling. Relax your head and neck and do nothing. Just breathe. For many students, you might find your knees are way up off the ground and you really struggle to fold forward at all. That's okay. Don't worry. We'll start here, and this pose will be even more beneficial for you. If you're struggling to fold forward and your knees are way up off the ground, here's what you do. Lift up your bum and place something underneath your bum to give you some leverage. If you have a yoga block, that will work. If not, a small couch pillow, a blanket, or even a book will work just fine as well. With your bum elevated, you'll find you can fold forward deeper without any effort. You'll also feel more freedom in your legs, with the knees floating in the air. Butterfly pose is very simple. It's often taught in physical education classes. And the real challenge here is to stay still, not to bounce, and to truly allow gravity to do all the work. Remember to keep your palms turned up towards the sky, so there's no temptation to grab at the floor or to attempt to pull yourself down. Take your time and be gentle. You can practice all gravity poses with open eyes or closed eyes, but with this pose in particular, it's very helpful to close your eyes and focus all your attention on breathing. Inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale, letting it out through your mouth. As a minimum, you'll want to hold butterfly pose for at least 2 minutes. Eventually, you'll work up to a full 5-minute hold. Be cautious of 2 areas here as you practice: your knees and your lower back. This pose is wonderful for your hips, while at the same time it frees up your knees and your lower back, though those 2 areas are much more delicate, so simply practice with caution. If at any point you feel sharp shooting sensations in your knees or in your lower back, wait for the tone and then take a break. Otherwise, stick with your breath and continue the stretch. Head relaxed, palms facing up, breath coming in and out steadily. We're nearly there. Stay with me.